Welcome to the Sunday Funday podcast. Your hangover never sounded so good. I'm your host, Akil Patterson. All of my merry band of men are out today because guess what? They got banged up last night. I'm just kidding. Well, actually, they did. At least two of them got banged up last night. One of them sang in a karaoke contest, made it to the finals. This guy blew him away with New York, New York. And now today I'm here with my homeboy Deshaun, who runs a peak performance recovery center and a performance improvement center for young people. Excuse me. That's that last night singing voice, if that's what they call it. And now I smoked a blunt last night. I normally don't smoke blunts, but I did that night. So, Deshaun, what's going on?
Nothing much. Peace and blessings. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, Deshaun. So, I think you run a youth performance center, actually a performance center for athletes.
Yes, I work with middle school, high school, college athletes, the occasional professional, and then starting to work back with more adults again, helping them get out of pain on the recovery side. Yeah,
you've been trying to get me in for a while, and I got to stop dragging my feet. These knees ain't going to last much longer. I do need to make sure that I take care of myself, because that's something I do have to recognize, is that the older I get, the more my injuries come back to haunt me. Like, when you're 25, you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm bad. I'm still good. You're 30, you're like, I'm good. You're 35, you're like, damn, that hurt.
Whenever I have to demonstrate track and field drills, I always feel the old turf toe from indoor football. It never healed.
You know what? That's what took Deion's toes.
Turf toe?
Yeah. Deion Sanders, he lost 2 toes because of the turf toe that he never took care of back in like 95, he said. Is that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah, so Deion Sanders has 8 toes now. His son proclaimed that on Twitter the other day. He goes, yo, you got 8 toes. Look at his dad. So
that's
you got
scary,
8 toes.
though. But I do work on my feet. I still work on my feet and treat myself when I can.
I played with a gentleman by the name of E.J. Henderson. And E.J. Henderson once told me, he goes, listen, getting a pedicure, that is not sissy at all. That is self-care. That is. He was the first one to tell me, he goes, it ain't sissy. This is a guy who was an all-pro linebacker. All-pro, all-American linebacker. Dude's like, this ain't sissy, man. He goes, this is self-care. He goes, you know how many times our feet get stepped on, crunched on, beat up? He's like, a pedicure ain't sissy. He goes, that's what a real man need to do, is go take care of his feet. Because nobody want no busted up bunions crusting up next to them when they sleeping.
I agree with your sentiments, man. You often hear about me traveling to South America, and it's strange that you bring that up, because when I'm here, I don't go get manicures or pedicures. But whenever I go to South America, I treat myself.
Yeah,
and they give the best pedicures. Like, the water is warm. You getting your nails clipped. It's like they're doing whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
It feels good on the feet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so you got to take care of yourself. Gentlemen, know that it is not a sissy move to get a pedicure at all.
Absolutely not.
At all. So I want to talk today about a subject that's kind of close to my heart, although it seems like every situation is close to my heart when I talk about it. I have been coaching for years. Years.
How many years?
20. Don't get twisted. I just look good. I've been coaching for almost 20 years. And now that I'm getting towards this, I call it the twilight of my coaching career, right? The back end where, like, coaches take breaks. And I'm thinking about taking a break. And as I'm getting towards the twilight, I've noticed something that has changed dramatically. And that is, athlete performance is based on parental supervision. But most of the parents are starting to treat their coaches like they almost treat their teachers. Like we're obligated to be there, that we have to teach them the things that they want to teach. How do we coach parents to say your child needs to learn how to be coachable?
Well, I want to go back. Can you explain to me what do you mean by you said athlete performance and parent supervision?
Yeah. So I believe that athletes, especially like high school athletes, young athletes, they have to do work outside of us, right? We only get them for a couple hours a day. They have to do more work outside of us. And parental supervision means that the parents are holding them accountable for doing that extra work, right? It's almost like, hey, you got homework, you got your classwork, and then you got your sports work. Because sports work don't end when we're done.
That's true.
Like we show you technique, and you need to go home and execute now. You need to practice. And what I mean is that a lot of parents are just thinking that they're going to get it in that hour and 15 minutes they might be with us. They're going to get all of it, and they should be D1 athletes by the end of it. And I don't think that's a reasonable expectation.
No, it's not. And it's interesting that you bring this up because I can speak from both sides because we coach together. Yeah. I love coaching football. I love coaching track. And we were both coaching varsity together, but I was coaching JV on Mondays and Thursdays or whatever it was. And I think you would often hear about my antics on the sideline and like just disbelief in some of the things that I was seeing. But it wasn't explained to me until like week 6 or 7 when the season is almost over that I had inherited about 17 of the 25 kids that we had on our JV team had never played football. And I felt it strange that I love football. I think it's a safe sport. I think it can be taught in a safe manner. But at the same time, when you don't prepare accordingly, you're literally putting your kid at risk for CTE.
Oh, yeah.
Traumatic brain injuries. They can get hurt. You know, there's always this misnomer with football that do concussions happen? Yes. But there's actually more injuries in soccer per 100 athletes or per capita than there is in football. There's less injuries in football than there is soccer. Do the head injuries exist? Yes. But I think there's I'm not going to say propaganda, but I think football can be practiced safely. It can be played safely. But on the other side of it, it's an emotional, it's a violent, and it's an aggressive sport. So I feel that you have to prepare accordingly. And a part of that is they might see us or see you. What are you doing the other 8 months out of the season where you should be doing appropriate strength training, appropriate sprint training, the things necessary to be good at your position? Mm-hmm. You know, I could train linemen right now. I know exactly what to do. I'm definitely going to do more powerlifting and Olympic lifting work with them because it's necessary in the trenches. But am I going to have all my receivers doing a whole bunch of slow squats? I'm probably not. I'm going to have them moving fast so they can get out the way so they can absorb less from guys like you. I mean, this guy's big. He's an NFL size, like offensive tackle, offensive guard.
Offensive guard and center. Like I am too short to be a tackle.
You know, and I played running back, and I remember this gentleman by the name of Oscar Hicks. Went to Benson High School, was at Portland State. I'm a red shirt. He's a senior. He's 28 years old, though, because he served 4 years in the military first. So he's mature. I've never been hit harder in my life. He was a nose guard.
Hit by a grown-ass man.
A grown-ass man. It's ISO up the middle. It's probably my third day out. I started training camp late because I that's a whole nother story. But when he hit me, it felt like all of my inside organs rattled. And I'm like 175-pound tailback.
So you're like, I'm a good size.
But I ran like I was 220, if that makes sense. And I said, I will never get hit like that ever again. It's like being hit by somebody like you in your prime. And you know what it is in the trenches.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are grown men.
And that's why I always tell parents, like, when little Johnny gets to college, don't worry. If he can redshirt, let him redshirt. He's going to gain 15 to 20 pounds in the offseason. Just from lifting, whatever it is that they're doing, just let them do it. Let them eat at the training table or in the dorms or whatever it is, and he'll be ready. But what I see now is going back, I didn't mean to digress, is that there's this expectation without the preparation. And the biggest success that I've had is with kids that had both parents in the household, or if it was just the father, that dad was supportive and took them to training and held them accountable and made sure that they're there. The success that almost all the success that I've had, there's either one or both parents on board that supported the kid and said, no, this is what you're doing. You said your goal is this, so we're going to adhere to this and we're going to toe that line.
Like holding them accountable starts outside of the practice field. It's not that you show up on Thursday and that you're an All-American. I tell people all the time. I learned what a scout team All-American really was. Scout team All-American isn't the kid that's trying to hurt you, is a kid that's giving you the best look. That's what the scout team All-American was.
And I can speak to that because I had an athlete, African-American male, graduated from Camas in 2015. Dad is a UPS exec. He got promoted, moved to the Northwest. 6th grade, he comes up. He's the best running back. He gets to high school. In certain communities, there's going to be favorites.
Yeah.
But he has friends. So his dad brought him to me after his freshman year. And I'm like, listen, he's a running back, so I understand. When you're a true running back in your head, you don't want to play corner. You don't want to play safety. You want to be a ball carrier. So his dad was contemplating transferring him. So we entertained another school, but his dad let him make the decision. So he decided to stay. And I said, listen, man, you got a great coach. Whatever decision you make is going to be the right decision. But if you only get 4 carries a game, they have to be your best 4 carries. We know you're going to start at defensive back. Boy, 6 foot, 190 pounds, his senior year in high school, 3.93 GPA.
Oh, he's going to college.
Harvard. He's going to college for sure. So the only thing I want to do is make sure he has a great senior year where he has fun. So I'm like, listen, man, you're going to play on defense. If you get 3 carries, they got to be your best 3 carries. If you get 4, they got to be your best 4. So by the end of the season, and how the particular coach at the time would do it, I'm not going to say any names, you start one game, he starts the other game. Now, within the game, you get a series, he gets a series. So it was 50-50. It was balanced. As a back, I don't like that because I believe in getting into a rhythm. But here's the cold part. The other guy is pale as you, his best friend. So I had to train him to be better than his best friend. And then I end up training his best friend, who became an outstanding rugby player, like USA Rugby. Okay. And at the end of it, because his mom and dad supported him training with me, he ended up scoring 20 touchdowns, led the team in touchdowns, 1,000 yards rushing on 50% of the carries. Starts off at Central Washington. You know, D, I'm better than this. This was right after Vernon Adams left Eastern Washington, went to Oregon. So he ended up going to University of San Diego, finished as a Torero, got his undergrad in biology. Puts his resume up on LinkedIn, a medical supply device company, hires him out of Chicago, pays him a little over $5,000 to move out there, starts him off at a little over $100,000 a year. I said, you're done with football.
Yeah.
We're not doing CFL. We're not doing anything.
Yeah, you got your money.
This is what I'm about as far as the discipline that I instill in kids and the message that I want to give to parents. There has to be some type of discipline and accountability. If you don't have discipline and accountability, and what I mean by that is anybody can coach talent. You can coach talent. I'm pointing at our camera guy. He can coach talent because you can come up with a workout right now. If the kid's never worked out, he's going to get better. But then when you hit that plateau, now what do you do? And how can you figure them out from a psychological, social, mental disposition and knowing what to give them and how much? And sometimes we see early success without doing anything. And then when it comes time to do the work, sometime the coach gets blamed. Sometime they'll go coach or personal trainer, 7-on-7 soccer organization. They hop. When actually what you want to do, there should be a sustained period of time for development.
You've got to be consistent. I think the transfer portal is only good if a young person has consistency at the original college. Like a lot of kids are they're school hopping in high school. Why are you school hopping in high school? To be honest with you, that leads to unsustained and inability to be accountable for yourself. Because guess what? If you don't like something, you just leave. We are training a generation of lazy leavers.
Yeah.
I can't win here, I'm leaving. I can't win, I'm leaving. Like, this ain't the pros. The pros, we do that because you want to win a championship. Because that is based on your income and your legacy. Your high school legacy is bullcrap. I think high school legacies are overrated. People who rely on high school legacy are the folks that talk about it 20 years after they've done it, and they still, like, the legend is bigger than them. I tell people all the time, I was on a terrible high school football team.
I only won 2 games my whole varsity career.
Yeah.
I understand losing.
Yeah.
I get to college was winning.
Yeah.
You learn how to win and get in the winning culture fast.
Yes.
And you understand the process of winning.
Yeah.
Portland State at the time was the richest Division II school in the country. We have playbooks that thick. Our offensive coordinator, eventually he went to Boise State. Eventually he went to Auburn. Eventually he went to Michigan, and he had a short stint with the 49ers. But a West Coast offense, I understand that. But they were about film and preparation.
Yeah.
Did they get the best talent? No, but we had 20 to 25 JUCO transfers coming in.
I had Ralph Friedgen, shout out to Big Ralph, who was at Maryland. The man could take a snapshot of an offensive play in his head and tell everybody what they did wrong. He'd go like this. And we'd all be like, what's he doing? He's like, he's taking a snapshot, photographic memory. He remembers every snap of every play, and he can tell everybody what they did right or wrong. That was the type of thing. And so when I look at my offensive line now, I'm like, I do the same thing. I know what people did right, what they did wrong. People are like, well, you're not coaching me. I'm like, I don't have to coach you if you did it right. That's right. When you do something wrong, I'll tell you about it. People think that there is this expectation that just because you were good on one play, you're going to be great on the next. Most people aren't. They're not. Consistency is what coaches look for, right? So when we get back to parents having a position in a young person's life going, hey, you need to be consistent about coaching your kid, letting them know that they need to be coachable. What does that mean to you when you say be coachable?
Well, part of that, growing up in Southern Illinois and living in Dallas, Texas for a few years, is one, we had chores. This is before, we couldn't afford a dishwasher when dishwashers were popular, or a microwave when microwaves were popular. So you had to not only wash the dishes, dry the dishes, and then put the dishes in the cabinet. Then you had to do the bathroom and scrub the toilet and the bathtub. And it had to be nice and neat, because if you didn't get it right, you were going to be grounded. And then you still had to clean your room. So a lot of the disciplined athletes that I have, that discipline, it typically starts at home. I don't want to date myself, but I was growing up in the 80s. To wear wrinkled clothes to school in 6th grade, you were not going to have a girl sending I love you notes or getting stickers on your notes.
You got clowned. You played yourself, is what they would say now.
I mean, so you imagine living in Illinois in the 80s. I loved it in the winters because it snowed. I'm going to go make me $60, $70, $80, sometimes $100 a day. I had a paper route in the 7th grade. shoveling snow. You lived in Maryland.
Oh, bro. Actually,
so I had the Bugle Boys, the Levi's Jacks. I had to buy my own Air Jordans. My parents didn't buy it. We couldn't afford that. But if you wanted something, you had to go get a job or you had to earn it.
Yeah. You hustled.
You hustled. And we're talking about not breaking the law.
Yeah. No. The word hustle from my hood doesn't mean breaking the law. The hustle means like, yo, listen. All right, I did break the law twice. I sold some bootleg DVDs. I walked in with the camera in my pocket.
What was that, like 2000?
Yeah, early 2000s. Yeah,
I used to buy them from my barber.
Yeah, he probably got them from somebody I knew.
Yeah.
I knew that guy for everything. Which movie? Yeah. Oh, Life.
Life?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Life, like with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah.
So back in the day, I worked so my first job, my first two jobs were at CVS. I got the job at CVS because I wanted to talk to somebody. So I figured if I worked there, they'd let me talk to them.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. But I did make some money. And then my second job was at the movie theater. The movie theater I only got because Star Wars was coming out and I wanted to get in a sneak preview.
Okay.
And this was like late 90s, early 2000s. It was, Jesus. Is that 98? God damn, I'm old. Anyway, so in 1998, I got my first jobs.
Okay.
And it was 97. I can't remember. I was like 15 or 15 years old. Yeah, I know. I'm going on a Mark tangent. I'm like the instigator, just going down a stupid tangent. But when you get those jobs, you had accountability. Now, my dad told me my only job was to go to school and be an athlete. Those were my jobs. He said
that ours is similar.
But if I wanted to do these other things, I had to make sure everything else was in order. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. He's like, so you, and I'm dyslexic, I got ADD. So like when people tell me like, oh, it's so hard for my son, lady, I went to law school. I ain't have no help. Like there was no chat GTP helping me. There was just straight go hard grind.
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. And that's why for me.
But you know what that was, not to interrupt you. You had certain people around you said, you know what, figure it out, but you're uncomfortable. See how far you can live or swim in that and deal with it for a while before you ask for help.
Yeah.
In a safe environment.
Yeah. And we had to swim. It was uphill swimming. It was, all right, this didn't work. Okay, what else can I do before I get to all right, I'm floundering. Please help me. Please save me. And I think what we end up first is that people, even in athletics especially, they want to find out how someone can save them before they even get to the point where they're ready to move forward.
I'll give you a prime example of that. I coach sprinters. I was always football first. Coach, how can I get faster? It's March. Track season has started. There's nothing I can really do for you, but you got to go through the practices. All the technical things that we do, you might see certain drills that we're doing. They might look like fancy drills. They're really not. Those are for the kids that's been training for the last 6, 8, 9, 10 months. There's literally nothing I can do at the beginning of the season. If you haven't been training and on the track and doing certain things that are necessarily going to help you become a stronger sprinter, you might get a little bit better in the season, but you're not going to go from 11-7 to 10-9. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we might get you from 11-7 to 10 to 11-5 maybe.
Is that almost like when your coach goes to you going, bro, you had a 2.1. I can't get you a 3.0 tomorrow.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. I can get you a 2.5, but I can't get you a 3.0.
And you're going to take your ass to summer school too.
Exactly.
And that's going to help. But then you got to go to summer school and still do the work and show up every day.
And that's the thing that I want young people to know is you still have to do the work. You have to show up and you've got to put in the work because 99% of getting it right is showing up and doing the work. The test is irrelevant. If you don't do anything, a teacher's not going to care. You didn't put any effort. I'm not putting any effort. I get a paycheck whether you win or whether you fail or you pass. Same way. College coaches, I want to say this with love.
Okay.
College coaches don't give a fudge about your feelings because their jobs depend on 18-year-olds' hormones. I coached on college level. My job is dependent on an 18-year-old's hormones. I don't care how you feel today. Your girlfriend showed up. All right. I hope you're happy. Your boyfriend left you. Sorry about that. Show up and do your job. Your dad died. We're going to have empathy. We're going to make sure we're there for you. But to be honest, you're still here for a reason. And so after you get over your grief, you need to come back and perform. Like, that is what college is about. It's about overcoming adversity and being able to still perform at your highest level. And until young people and their families recognize that performance, peak performance, doesn't care about our feelings.
Yeah. And I don't want to interrupt you but you're leading to one of my all-time favorite phrases from the best boxing coach ever. And I got this from him. And he trained the last exciting heavyweight. You get judged by what you do, not by how you feel. So let's be honest, sports is entertainment. You're coming to see your kids play. You're coming to see other people play. If you're going to suit up or decide to compete, it's at that point there's no excuses because the crowd doesn't know that you're sick. They don't care. They don't know that your girl left you feeling down. You decided to suit up. So there's no excuses. If you're going to compete today, if you're going to get in those blocks, you're going to put those pads on, hey, it's A1 performance. You got to give your best effort. I don't care if you're sick. There's too many examples of guys that have fevers, from MJ to Walter Payton, that did outstanding things while they were feeling like less than 100%.
Well, we all feel less than 100% a lot of the times. I mean, I think my offensive line coach, Tom Bratton, said to us, "Remember this day, gentlemen. This is the best you're going to feel for the rest of your life." We walked in. That was the first thing he said to us in our meeting. "Remember this day. This is the best you're going to feel for the rest of your life." He ain't lying. He's not lying. He's like, man, your back hurts, your hands hurt. I mean, I fell into last night I was walking home, and you know those runoff swells where they're trying to make it look like green and mean, and they're lower in the ground.
Okay.
I fell down one, and I was like, okay. Oh, and I put my hand out. I was like, oh man, that hurt. And I was like, I think I might have broke my hand. But in my head, I go, it doesn't hurt as bad as this over here, so I'm good. And I just got up and kept walking. Right. Because I would never have known what real pain felt like if it was not for sports.
I could agree with that.
Like, real pain is like different than, am I hurt or am I injured? If I'm just hurting.
That line there is blurred a lot because you could be feeling the owie, but then you take a practice off or you decide not to compete, and it wasn't what you thought it was. Exactly.
And to be honest, the medical system is a business.
Yeah. You know, when I work with athletes from a recovery standpoint, pain comes in 3 areas. It's physiological, it's neurological, and the last one is psychological.
Most of them it's psychological.
And most of them are psychological.
Yeah. No, we all know that because a lot of young people, they get on they get into an athletic endeavor, and they kind of just go, that hurt. I don't want to do it. I'm stopping. So, all right. Well, we are almost at the 30-minute time limit because you know why? We keep our shows at 30 minutes these days. So, Deshaun, what would you tell people, parents right now, coaching their kids, what they should do to be able to improve their athlete's outcome, other than come to your performance center?
I would just say to be objective. And if you can't establish that, depending on the sport, there's always some objective measures. I could speak to football and track and field, but if your son is a receiver and he runs a 4.9 40 And maybe he catches the ball sometimes, but it's only 50% of the time. He's not a Division I athlete. You know, usually those kids,
Keep it real.
They run 4, 6, 4, 5 40s. And at the next level, you know, I played a little bit. I played on 2 different professional indoor football teams. Even at that level, the receivers catch 9 out of 10 balls. In basketball, okay, it's cool. You sit around and you shoot these jumpers and 3 points, but can you drive? But when you do shoot that jumper, does it go in 9 out of 10 times? I've seen kids, a few kids out here that do that, and they went on to the next level. They got their degrees, and they're playing. They might not be in the NBA because of their height, with it being a height-dominated sport, but they're making over $100,000 a year playing over in Europe with money. No debt. You know, but at the end of the day, do you fit the measurables? And if you don't know that, one, you need to figure that out. What are the measurables? What considers a kid? What identifies a kid to be a top tier athlete, whether it's soccer, football, baseball, basketball, track, and figuring those things out. And then if you are working with an outside entity, I mean, I'm sure Akil could tell you, just because that entity played Division I football or basketball, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a great coach. You got to look and see who they produce, who they developed over time. You know, there's always a track record somewhere, because some guys played at the next level, whether they went to Oregon or played for the Bears. You could be wasting thousands of dollars because of a name, and they have some cool marketing. Is marketing necessary? Yes, it is. But quality is necessary too. You know, I see it in soccer a lot. You might blow $10,000 in a year, and your son, he's not playing for the Timbers.
Yeah, Messi did not get your kid that scholarship. You're like, yeah, he didn't do anything for you. Great players are not the greatest coaches, but the great coaches have coached the best players.
Yeah, and a lot of time I heard Coach Tomlin say that. It's like a lot of time, I was a failed athlete, you know. I was smoking weed and drinking in college. I didn't clean all of that up until I got done.
Cannabis is not a drug at this point. It is a recreational activity in which I encourage people to perform at their peak performance while using it, if they do so willingly with a doctor's order.
Nevertheless,
cannabis is money, motherfucker. I make my money off of it.
I understand. But, and he just made me lose my whole train of thought. But what I was saying is, like, when I was younger, I made a lot of mistakes. And the reason why I love coaching is I can share. I know what it looks like to go down the wrong path. I didn't peak at football until I was 27 playing indoor professional football. And I still wasn't running as fast as I wanted to run, you know. So as a coach, if you have some type of indiscretion about you, I'm going to see it. You know, I love studying people. One of my favorite subjects is human intelligence and emotional intelligence and social intelligence and emotional intelligence. So I have a saying. If you, just because you lie to me, I'm not going to call you on every lie, because if I called your ass on every lie, I would just go crazy. My blood pressure would always be up. So I let people lie to me sometimes. Then when it's time to point out certain lies, then we could talk about that, or I'm going to tell you the truth. But at the end of the day, it comes back to being accountable and accepting who you are and where you are in space and time. And what I mean by that, it's not necessarily about comparing yourself to your teammate, the person in the league, the person that's all state or on a national level. Just be the best that you can be. And then if you follow the process of being diligent about the preparation for your sport, 2 or 3 sports, something good is going to come out of that. You know, we won state. I don't have a single quote or unquote fast black kid on my team last year. I had to coach my ass off, but I had 3 to 4 kids that were diligent about training 6, 7, 8 months, 9 months prior to the season, and then we get an outlier. So if you get kids to do the work, there's always going to be an outlier. And I often tease our head coach. He knows the school we're at, so I'm always, man, we need a few fast black kids. We need some fast black kids. Well, Alex played soccer. He was a goalie. He just came in 200 and 400 meter form. He's genetically gifted. He has a twitch gene. And I often tell people about, as I got to know him, his mom, his dad, I got a chance to know his stepdad over the summer. He's a kid that comes with supreme confidence, and that comes from his parents. His mother, let's just say this, she doesn't play any games at all.
You get the work done, and then you go play.
You get the work done, and she's not going to tolerate any BS. And he's a kid that he just happened, soccer was his first sport. But if basketball was his first sport,
she ain't playing with that either.
Well, he would have been a Division I basketball athlete. Yeah. If football was his first sport, he would have been the all-state quarterback. If basketball was his first sport, he would have been the kid that was dunking on you from this community.
And I'm telling you now, it all starts with the parents at home setting expectations, level setting, going, if you want to be great, then you got to put in the work. And I've met a couple parents like that, and their kids are pretty great athletes because they put in the work. The parents don't push them. They're not abusive. They just go, all right, you want to do this, we're doing it. I'm a one through the wall type of coach. Hey, if we're here, we're going all in.
That's right.
I have now room, and this is I'm going to finish this off because obviously we're over time. But if you run through a wall and you don't know what's on the other side, but you trust your coach, you will run through that wall and you will not regret going through the wall. If you don't trust your coach and you don't trust your teammates, you will never see what's on the other side. Folks, trust your coach, trust your parents, and trust that people have your best interests at heart. This has been the Sunday Fun Day Podcast. Your hangover never sounded so good. Join us for another episode. Thanks to my friend Deshaun for joining us today. Make sure you check out him and his Peak Performance Academy, because guess what?
It's ProForceAthletics.com, Instagram, ProForce Athletics.
ProForce Athletics. He is taking young people to the top of their performance athletics. My name's Gil Patterson. Have a great day and even better tomorrow. Deuces.